Thank you all for being here. Today's a really nice day to talk about academia, and one of the most used features in the last few days, for actually a few weeks due to COVID mostly, which is the virtual options. And I would like to start by showing what academia can do in general terms in when we talk about virtual, because there could be new participants here with us today. So basically in academia, we have several options that are gonna be divided by nature. The regular sessions, which is when the student goes there to the center and they use a kiosk or they sign in, and the virtual world, which is when a student stays at home or somewhere and uses a computer or a laptop or any device to access a session that is going to take place online. And that is why it has been so successful, because most activities have been going through this online world. And now, thankfully, we're going back to a hybrid type of setting. And basically, what academia is going to be doing is that it's going to be taking those students from their links, the links that they use to join the appointments, to the actual appointment that takes place probably in Zoom and GoToMeeting, in any of those platforms. And I would like for you to know that academia is really flexible. So it doesn't matter what type of platform you use, either is Zoom, GoToMeeting, Google Meet, doesn't really matter. As long as the platform provides a URL or a link so the students can join, then academia can handle it. Academia is going to be doing like a middleman type of job, and it's going to be tracking when the student goes to the session, and when the session is over, it's going to be writing in those logs to know exactly how the center has been doing in the online world. Also, we can do supplemental information classes. As you know, Academia has a module for that. So the same way as you can do a regular kiosk based on a classroom, now you can do what we call a virtual kiosk or a virtual link, and then the students can use that to join an SI class online. Academia can track all that too. And last but not least, the walk-ins, which is basically when the student has a need right away. They don't want to make an appointment. They go to the center directly. Then they used to do that on site, and now they can do that online. And I'm going to show you the different options they have to join those sessions, which is really cool. And we have been really successful with this. So basically what you see on the right is basically the process, how that process takes place. So basically there's going to be a remote link or a virtual kiosk. The students are going to sign in. And then you see there the first screenshot on the top. Then basically the student is going to be signed into the session. And when the tutor is available, they are going to get this in the third screenshot, that launch button in green, so they can click, and then Accudemia is going to be taking them to the online session itself in whatever platform that takes place. Okay. So I'm going to move to, now that we know in general terms what Academia can do, let me show you a few tips. This is by no means a general list. There is a lot of things that I could talk about today, but I have gathered a few tips of what you have been providing to our support team in your daily use for Academia. And one of the things that I would like to say first, which is really important, is that Academia not only can take those students to a session, but if you use Zoom and you use a paid version of Zoom, now Academia has an integration, a direct integration between Academia and Zoom. So by following a few steps, and I'm gonna have, please, if Nick, can you put the documentation link for this Zoom integration in the chat? So if you don't know it, you can read more about it. Basically, what you can do is that you can link your Academia session with your Zoom paid account. And then what that's going to do is that even more than accurate tracking is going to be tracking everything hands off. So we don't need, in this case, for the student to sign out or the tutor sign them out for the sessions, because Zoom is going to be probably, I mean, it's going to be telling Academia what happens and to the last minute and the last second actually, which is great because you don't need to do pretty much anything. You configure your account, you link your account in Academia with your account in Zoom, and then when you make those students join, then Zoom take over and tells Academia everything that we need to know. So this is a perfect tool to use this. And I'm telling this because sometimes we see that you use Zoom, but you're not using the integration. Maybe because you don't know it, or maybe you think it's going to be complex process, but it does. If you use Zoom and you have a paid version of Zoom, please follow the documentation and make sure to connect that account with your Accudemia account. And it's going to be a lot better than what you're using right now. Okay. Still, if you don't want to use it, we can still work with Zoom by following those URLs and pasting the link that the tutor is using in the tutor profile. So make sure to check on the control panel, and you're going to see a new module, virtual option module, and then you can follow the documentation to complete that setup. Okay. And this is what you see, by the way. This is the screenshot that you see when you are linking your account with Zoom. As soon as you link your account, it's going to probably Accudemia is going to tell you what, I mean, if it is connected or not, and you're going to see it right away because you see, as you see there, it's going to provide today's date and the ID, the identifier for the session that you're using in Zoom. So Accudemia is going to be taking that automatically. Now, the second tip that I would like to provide, or best practice, if you want to call it, is that when you are creating those virtual kiosks or those virtual links, you can decide if you want to take the students to a fixed URL, like you can see there on the right in that green highlight there. So you can take the students when they use that link to a fixed URL, like this one you see there, which is a test URL, backup URL, let's say, or you can take them to the tutor profile URL, which is where the tutor, that Zoom or that GoToMeeting or that Google Meet link that the tutor is going to be using. Now, if you want to go one step further, you can use both options, and that is highly advisable. Why? Because if you see there in the yellow highlighted section, you are using the Tutor Connect link, but if Accudemia see that there is nothing, for some reason, there is no information in that tutor profile related to the session, uh, to these virtual sessions, then the student is going to be taken to that backup URL that you see highlighted in green. So basically what you need to have is someone, a staff or someone at the center, checking on that session. So if somebody doesn't reach that Tutor Connect link for some reason, Academia is going to be taking them to that backup URL, and then they can get help on how to connect to the tutor. They can fix whatever problem it is. So you have two ways to connect. While if you don't have that backup URL, and for some reason the Tutor Connect link is empty, then the student will not be able to join, and they will be left, like they will have to contact you in order to fix that. Okay, so using both options is a great advice if you have somebody that can check on that backup URL session. And in this case, it's only a testing, but it can be anything, as I was telling earlier. Now, the third advice or best practice, and this is something that I have seen in many accounts, many of my users have been reaching out because this is a great idea. When you are creating those virtual links or the virtual kiosk, you can think about creating QR codes out of those links. And actually, if you see there down there, I have pasted a couple of free websites to make those QR codes, but there's plenty of websites that do that. And basically what you see here on the is that when you finish and you're going to have a link, a regular URL, you can paste that link into any of these sites, and you're going to have any QR code like you see on the screenshots on the right. And basically, what is that useful for? Well, it's really useful because if you send the regular link and you send the QR code, it's really simple for the student to catch their smartphone or their tablet, take a screenshot, take a picture of the QR code, and be taken immediately to the virtual link or the virtual kiosk. So everything is about convenience. And the same way as you see on the second screenshot there, you can even print that QR code and paste it in the front of the center, or in one of those high traffic areas. And when the student goes in, it's as simple as taking their smartphone, link that QR code, and then have a session. Because it is a lot more complicated. If they have to follow that link, they will have to type it in if they don't have it. So having a QR code, and actually, if you notice on the third screenshot on the right, you can see that on the homepage in Accudemia, you're going to have those links, and you can have even the QR code. So if the student just doesn't want to use the computer and they want to grab their smartphone, they can just use the camera to access the walk-in link and then do the walk-in. That is a really, actually, I have seen many schools using it, and they are having a lot of success. Now the other one, how can we capture information related to these sessions that are taking place online? Now, remember that this is going to be taking place in a virtual world, so we don't have a kiosk, at least a regular kiosk, where we can trigger a survey. Now, that doesn't say that you have to stop having surveys. No. What you can do is that you can use surveys that are triggered on internet access. You will see when you create a survey, one of the options to be triggered for that survey is internet access. And this is a really convenient way to do it because when the students are following those links for the virtual kiosk, they are already logging into Accudemia. So since they are there, it's really easy for them to go to the homepage and see those links in the homepage and then complete those surveys about how the session goes, if they have any issues or whatsoever. So please use that survey to your advantage based on the internet access and not on the kiosk sign in or out, the regular kiosk sign in or out for these virtual options. And then you will be able to gather information about this the same way as you used to do it in the regular kiosk. Okay. So that's another one. And now another one that I have seen many people that sometimes they have issues with. When you are configuring your walk-ins, that is in the control panel walk-in module, you see, and actually that is a screenshot on the top right here, that you can base the selection of the tutor on their schedule, or you can use the tutor assignments, or you can show a list of every tutor you have. Now, the tip here is to, if you can, use the tutor schedule as you see there highlighted. And the reason for that is really simple. If you choose the tutor assignment, then if somebody selects mathematics, they're going to see the 20 or 30 tutors that are assigned to that subject. But it's really difficult for you to really keep those tutors 24/7 at your center. So it is going to be really hard if they choose John to make sure that John is going to be there all the time. And if you choose that tutor assignment or you show everyone, then everybody's going to show 24/7. But if you base it on the tutor schedule, if John is available Tuesday afternoon, then John is going to be an option on Tuesday afternoon. And then Mary and Joseph are going to be Thursday morning, then they are going to be there as an option. So you make sure that you really can support what the students are seeing in the wizard. Okay, so basing this on the schedule information and obviously using the schedule for the tutors is a really good idea. And now, how can you tell? I mean, how can you can have a glance on what tutors are available for today to help the students? You can use the daily viewer, which is the screenshot you see down here. The daily viewer in Accudemia is going to tell you who is going to be available and how many appointments they have, if at any. For example, you see there that today in this example, I am available and Julia is available. So there is 2 tutors available today, and Julia has an appointment at 3 p.m. and I had an appointment at 11:30 a.m. So that is really easy for you as a head of the center to take a look at this and make sure that you have plenty of availability for your staff to take whatever demand you have on your students. And if they have appointments, then you know that maybe you need to cover those gaps because the tutor is going to be busy taking an appointment. So this is a really good, actually, this has been an idea that I was offered by one of my users in Accudemia, and it makes a lot of sense. Now, waiting lines. This is another tip that I would like to provide. And sometimes people don't like waiting lines. They like the student to just make the selection and sign in immediately. But why I ask you to consider the waiting line, even if it is only temporarily for a day, for an hour, because if you have a lot of demand and you don't have many staff waiting to help students, then what you can do is that you can consider enabling those waiting lines at the center. And why this is going to be is going to be helpful for you, because now instead of, let's say that you have only 2 tutors and the first 2 students are going to take those 2, and then you're going to run out of staff. While if you have a waiting line, you can have the students sign in, they are going to be placed in a queue, and then you can check that queue and you can link those students with the available stuff as you consider is going to be better. For example, maybe 2 or 3 students are going to be asking for the same subject areas, and then you can link those 2 or 3 with only one staff, and then you can leave the one remaining staff for the others that are coming and that are going to be needing help. So please consider that using the waiting line, and you can, as you can see there on the right, this is what the manage center screen shows up. And then by enabling, in order to enable the waiting line, you just need to hit on that little wheel you see on the top right corner there. And then the first option is going to be to enable or disable the waiting line. So maybe if tomorrow morning you have plenty of staff, you don't have that demand, you can then disable the waiting line. And then students, as they go, they will be able to pick their own tutors, and then everybody's going to be happy. But if you have a lot of demand, then consider using this waiting line. I know that it's going to help you a lot. Um, Now, another idea that I had from many of my users, sometimes you have, let's say, 4 or 5 tutors, but maybe 2 or 3 are getting the most of the sessions, just because students usually pick the one that is familiar to them, the ones that they have picked in the past. You know, sometimes the students pick the same over and over again, and then maybe you are having some of the tutors that don't get any session, while some of them are getting too many, and they are working extra hard. Now, if this is happening, you can consider assigning the tutor and not letting the student pick the tutor that they want. And how you can do that? Really simple. Basically, what you need to do is that you need to enable those waiting lines, and then consider removing the tutor selection from the wizard. And then when the student goes in, they select the service, the subject area, whatever you want, except for the tutor. They go to the queue, and then based on your specific information or need, then you can link them with specific tutors. Maybe you are going to do it randomly. So any tutor is going to be taking, the tutors are going to be placed in a queue in a way. And then each tutor is going to be taking the students as they come. Okay, there is a lot of ways to do this, but basically what we are talking about here is to balance the workload between all the tutors, and everybody has a fair chance to have sessions, and not some are getting a lot of work while some of them are not getting that many, right? And as you can see there, for example, you see that a screenshot in the bottom. Basically, this is a queue. In this case, there's only one student, but just for testing purposes, this is what they will look like. Let's say that you have 5, 6 students in a queue, and then you will select as they come, and then maybe these two are going to go with Mary, John is going to go with Peter, and so on and so forth. So everybody is going to be taking some actions in this case, right? Now another one, actually, yeah, now is the time that I would like to go quickly, and I don't want to go too long because I know that time is not on my side. But I would like to go quickly to show you the options in Accudemia. It's going to take me 2 minutes. So basically, if you go to the administration control panel in Accudemia and you see this walking module, is the second one there, and you select any center. I'm going to go randomly to any of them. If you go here to this tutor screen, this is where you will select if you want the students to select the tutor, or if you are going to be assigning the tutor. And this is the same screen you can use to link the tutor's availability in their schedule, or if you want to show them all. And quickly, if I go here to the center attendance virtual sign-in, and if I go to the virtual links or the virtual kiosk, if you want to call it, uh, I'm sorry, I didn't click it. Um, Come on. Okay. Yeah. So if you see here, this is the virtual links that I have in that center. So if I try to create a new one, I'm going to pick random any center here. This is in that third section here is where you have the options to select the Tutor Connect link or the backup URL that you can put in there. And what I was telling you is to, if you can, use both options so you can have a second option that they can fall back if something goes wrong with that Tutor Connect link or if it is empty. So basically, this is what I wanted to show you. There is a lot more tips and best practices that we can give you, but for now, this is a summary of what I have gathered from my users, and I wanted to share with you so you can use it to your advantage. And maybe the options that you don't know that were there now, you can use it, or you can tweak it in a way that is going to be serving your purposes a lot better. So if you have any question, thank you so much for listening. If you have any question, please let me know, and I'll be more than happy. And if you don't have a question now, but you will have it in the future, you can always contact support@accudemia.com, and we have a really nice set of people there waiting for you to help you. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Jorge. I just want to
Okay.
point out a couple questions that came in the chat, and Nick answered them, but I do want to just make sure for anybody who isn't looking at the chat that we address them as well. So Joshua asks, are there plans to integrate Accudemia with Microsoft Teams? We found a workaround for getting students into appointments, but we find we have to manually adjust the timeout for appointments that go over the scheduled time. Nick responded, in the future, we should have more integration options, and other people have submitted that to user voice, and he put a link to that in the chat. And so we definitely recommend you, if your school uses Teams and you want to see that Teams integration, give that an upvote so that we have an idea of how many clients such an update would benefit. And then Julie asks, is the waiting line something that can be projected on a monitor so that tutors know who is waiting and the students know how far down the waiting list they are? And Kelly, who is our user spotlight guest today, said that she actually uses it like that. So she'll show that during her segment as well. So if anybody else has any questions about this topic, you can unmute yourself at this time, or you can put them in the chat as well.
Yeah, so as you can see there, this is the casting screen, and actually that is a really good idea too, because I have seen in some schools they put it in multiple screens, so everybody's not gathering in the same spot. Like with COVID, that we needed 6 feet apart, so they had several screens all over the place, so people could stay there far from each other, and then at the time of when the turn was up for them, they will come to the to see the tutor and then have the session. So this is, as you can see there, there's a cast screen, and you can, in this case, there's nobody, but you will see the names of the students there. And actually, there is some options if you want to show the subject area or not, or just want to show the name of the student without the subject area they picked. And then you can also show the tutor column too in that screen.
Great, thank you. All right, any other questions about this topic before we move on to general Q&A? Jill asks, for the virtual sign-in, do students have to sign out, or can it be set up so they're automatically signed out after a set time? For example, using the virtual sign-in link for a drop-in workshop that ends after 1 hour.
Yes, you have the option to have an auto sign out after a certain time, or you can have them sign out. Actually, there's several options. One that the student themselves sign out, the tutor sign them out, or an administrator or somebody, a staff is going to sign them out to make sure that they are really, signing out, or to having that auto sign out. And actually, there's a fifth option, which is if you use the Zoom integration, then as soon as the session is over, the session log is going to be completed automatically, which is the best way to do it.